you're truly with it, to put your brothers, your sisters, and your friends' lives at risk.
There is absolutely no need for us to be having large gatherings or parties.
Listen, just put on your mask, man, all right? Wear your mask, man!
Surge of COVID-19 cases over in the nation's second city. Good morning, everyone. I'm LaDawn Davis, and this is the Morning Edition. Thank you so much for tuning in. The confirmed figures for COVID-19 still high for Grand Bahama, with 39 new cases recorded on Monday alone. This pushes that island's COVID-19 numbers to 428. As residents remain in an extended lockdown, New Providence saw 3 new cases on Monday for a total of 420. Overall, the COVID figures are just shy of 1,000 at 945. The latest COVID-19 victim is said to be a 34-year-old male of New Providence. He died on August 6th, but health officials say investigations are being conducted into this latest death. The total COVID-19 deaths now stand at 15. Health officials questioned about the COVID-19 mortality rate in this country. Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. DeLon Brennan speaks to the issue with Lloyd Allen.
When we look at the data so far, our mortality is pretty similar. It's actually a little bit lower than we've seen in some of the more hard-hit areas, but it's comparable to what we're seeing in our neighbors within the Caribbean. So far, that has not posed a big challenge. But we do know that that could change at any moment. We expect that with this higher number of cases and the number of people who've been hospitalized and those who are requiring intensive care, that unfortunately we will likely see additional cases of death, and so we do have to be prepared for that.
Also on Sunday, the Prime Minister referred to case numbers in Grand Bahama as grave. What constitutes that assessment compared to New Providence?
I think when you compare just the population sizes, Grand Bahama represents about 15% of the population in the Bahamas, where New Providence represents about 70%. So if you just look at, yes, our raw numbers are pretty similar, but compared to the total number of people on the island, they have a higher per capita rate of infection than New Providence does.
From your perspective, how long before we can see an end to restriction measures like lockdowns and curfews?
I think we're going to be in this for at least a few more months. I don't think it's necessarily going to be as restrictive that entire time. I think we look at the pattern that we saw in the first wave, where we had more restrictive measures at the very beginning, and then we were slowly able to open up. I think that same pattern happened. When we listened to the Prime Minister, we heard about the Southern Islands now being allowed to have more commerce and more movement than those islands in the central and northern Bahamas, because this is where the cases are concentrated. So I think we could look forward to lifting of some restrictions as the numbers improve. But if we continue to have the high rates and the spread within other islands, as we're now seeing more islands being involved, we are likely to continue restrictions on those islands until we have a better handle on the situation.
The Cabinet Office confirming that Minister of Education, the Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd, received a negative COVID-19 RT-PCR test result this past Sunday, August 9th, following the Ministry of Health's protocols. The Cabinet Office statement indicated that Minister Lloyd was tested after learning he was exposed to a positive case. Out of an abundance of caution and on advice, Minister Lloyd has voluntarily entered self-quarantine and will continue to perform his functions as Education Minister by working remotely from home. The cabinet release concluded that all necessary COVID-19 exposure procedures at the Ministry of Education headquarters building on University Drive are being observed. Meantime, health officials over on Eleuthera are doing what they can to reduce the spread of COVID-19 on that island after recording its first positive case. North Eleuthera Member of Parliament Ricky Mackey appealing to residents to avoid social groupings and later provided an update on the island's single COVID-19 case.
He is at home and is under strict quarantine and will remain there until he has been cleared by the medical professionals. But let me take this opportunity to just say it is very important that we adhere to the protocols that have been established by the medical professionals. And there is absolutely no need for us to be having large gatherings or parties or any activities, for that matter, that would allow for the spread of COVID-19. It is important that we get this pandemic behind us so that we could return to a life of normalcy.
Now, with a total number of cases nearing 1,000, government is doing all it can to ensure that citizens and residents help to effectively minimize community spread. That includes the current 2-week national lockdown and adhering to health safety protocols. However, Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, recognizes those individuals who do follow the rules. In his national address, he thanked the vast majority of Bahamians who have exercised great discipline during the pandemic.
These are the ones who are demonstrating the true Bahamian spirit, which has brought us through many trials and tribulations in our long history. They have followed the protocols advised by our healthcare professionals. They have respected the orders put in place for the protection of their loved ones and their neighbors. Indeed, for the protection of us all.
He also noted that due to the seriousness of this moment in history, selfish or misguided action by any one of us could put the entire nation at risk.
Some who really ought to know better have attempted to undermine the steps we have taken in our efforts to control the spread of COVID-19, including curfews and lockdowns. But I only ask of them to consider whether, in these circumstances, is it worth it? Undermine public health and to put at risk the very lives of their fellow citizens. I ask them again, is it truly worth it to put your brothers, your sisters, and your friends' lives at risk?
The Prime Minister himself has acknowledged that imposing a lockdown is not the news Bahamians would want to hear, but it is indeed necessary. The reality, though, is that the impact is far-reaching. In this report, Mukesh Lapinder tells us that lockdowns have an adverse effect on mental health and one's emotional well-being.
4 cases in, the government sought to mitigate the local spread of COVID-19 cases and impose a 24-hour curfew. Satisfied with the strides made, the restriction was lifted. Hundreds of cases and numerous deaths later, Bahamians, both frustrated and angry, are today under a lockdown. And as it stands, that's expected to last at a minimum until next Wednesday. What this translates into, though, is a huge economic cost all around, given the money pumped into an economic replacement program, unemployment benefits, assistance to the healthcare sector, the huge loss to government revenue, and its corresponding spike in expenditure.
All things being equal, if that happens, then we are on pace to meet our anticipated projections into the new year. Our revenues overall are down about 50% against what we would have ordinarily have expected based upon past experience. It is tracking, however, according to our revised projection. Our expenditure is similarly tracking more or less where we had anticipated they would be.
And according to the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Honourable K. Peter Turnquest, here's where that leaves the Bahamas fiscally.
So overall, we are more or less where we anticipated that we would be, not where we want to be by any stretch of the imagination, but where we had kind of anticipated we would be.
Turnquest noting, though, that while the measures give way to a degree of uncertainty about the viability and sustainability of many private businesses, the government is equally concerned. Still, there are those who contend that the Bahamas cannot survive on haphazard starts and stops. The DPM dismissed this as just unfortunate idle talk.
And so we made the decision, the informed decision, to reopen the economy. At the time, And no one could have anticipated that Bahamians, in particular, would have flocked overseas as they did. 4,296, I believe, Bahamians traveled in less than 2 weeks. And unfortunately, through no fault of their own, some of them would have been infected and come back and infected locals with a degree of community spread that spiked cases again and threatened to overwhelm the healthcare system once again. Any responsible government would have had to have done what we did to ensure that we do what we can to protect life.
Reporting for the Morning Edition, I'm Makush Lopender.
Well, a smooth start to your Tuesday morning. It looks like a busy Sunday. On the other side of the break, some tips, rather statistics for drivers that can keep you safe while on the streets.
Hi, welcome to Dream Girls. We offer a wide variety of hair care, and your everyday beauty needs.
Here at Dream Girls, we carry a wide variety of products for natural or relaxed hair, such as ORS, Pure Care, and Shea Moisture. We also carry a large selection of weaving, braiding, and crochet hair. You can expect to find a private wig room, a large variety of products, and service with a smile. Whether you're shopping for a party, a corporate event, or your everyday working woman, Dream Girls can make your dream become a reality. Live your dream, experience your dream, Dream Girls.
We have 3 convenient locations to serve you: Village Road Shopping Center, Prince Charles Shopping Center, and Legacy Plaza located on Prince Charles next to BTC Cash and Go. Here at Dream Girls, enhancing beauty becomes your reality.
The Public Hospitals Authority has come up with a strategy it hopes will spur relatives to pick up dozens of long-term boarders at the Princess Margaret Hospital. The Prime Minister on Sunday pegged that number at 33. That's 33 people occupying beds needed for COVID-19 patients at PMH at a total cost to the government of some $6 million annually. The PHA has released the names of the boarders to the public, appealing to relatives of the discharged patients to urgently call PMH at 376-8076 or 376-7215 between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. If weather permits during the above active hurricane season, Bahamian fishermen predicts this crawfish season will be a ripe one for them across this country. Several days ago, popular fisherman Keith Carroll and his team took to the high seas with boats loaded with traps and bait to capture crawfish for the market. We caught up with them just moments before that special voyage.
You can make a lot of money, and sometimes you don't make money because of poachers.
Veteran fisherman Desmond Malone is among dozens of fishermen preparing for a busy crawfish season. His crew was busy loading 1,000 crawfish traps and bait onto 2 vessels hoping to strike gold. Malone, who's been a fisherman for a little over 2 decades, says fierce competition and other challenges on the high seas have made it difficult to make an honest living.
My experience on the sea was really great through the years, and sometimes it doesn't be great, because you have a lot of poachers that come over in a bunch of big boats, and they outnumber the small boats. And most of the time, when you go there, it's be really hard. It's be a lot of work. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of preparation. And the last thing you want to do is go there and meet nothing in your equipments, in your fish equipments.
The anxious fisherman told us what happens when the traps are taken to various drops for the big catch.
We have something what we call a wrench and a dragger. We drop that overboard. It's something that called trawls. Our trap is on trawls. And we drop the drag and we hook our line. And it's like 25 trap in the line. And we bring up the first line. Sometimes we have 21 lines to pull every day. And we scatter. We have to pull them every day. Sometimes it's be a downfall with it, because sometimes you have to repair them. Sometimes they broke up.
Director of the National Fisheries Association and commercial fisherman Keith Carroll applauded officers from the Royal Bahamas Defense Force for protecting our borders and marine resources.
Poachers is not coming like how they used to. Defense Force is doing a good job. patrolling the Southeast Bahamas. So when the fence force do a good job, that means like usually the Dominicans usually come in during the summer months, plentiful, because we're not out there. Because when we out there, we eyes for the defense force. So, and that's when the crawfish is laying the eggs and stuff, and they usually catch them by then. So if we could keep them off the bank while the crawfish is having spawning, it'll be better for us.
Carroll says Hurricane Isaias may have pushed the season to a late start, but there was no significant damage to vessels and traps. He assured customers, however, that there should be a sufficient supply of the tasty crustacean to go around.
I know the fish houses is buying. They're allowed to buy the lobster once we come in. So I guess the Bahamian public will be able to go to the fish houses. I don't know if it'll be certain days they'll be able to go, but as long as we go and catch the lobster, the fish house will buy them from us. With us, our selling our lobsters, that'll be the only, I guess, one of the only sort of foreign income that the government can have coming in, because it's easy, we sell away, so the more money come back home.
Well, food stores and gas stations are closed today, so your traffic movement may not be so busy. Let's send it out to Lloyd Allen and the morning traffic team.
The traffic report is sponsored by Bahamas First. First in insurance. Today, tomorrow.
Well, good morning, Ladon, and good morning, Bahamas. Giving you your first look at traffic, we're coming from the area of Pinedale Street and Wolf Road, and already there are a significant number of vehicles on the street. We imagine those would include emergency personnel, and an addition, of course, would be those food store workers stocking up ahead of the general public on Wednesday. This morning, we're also joined by Sergeant Crestania Johnson from the Royal Bahamas Police Force Traffic Division, who's giving you your first look at traffic.
A pleasant good morning to you and a pleasant good morning, Bahamas. Well, during the 24-hour period, we've had 17 traffic accidents, 2 of which involved injury and 15 that involved damages. At this time, we still have 10 persons hospitalized as a result of being involved in a traffic accident.
And a follow-up question, Sergeant Johnson. You've observed some statistics during peak traffic periods. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, well, coming in from last week, during that period, we found that on Tuesday and Thursday, when the traffic is a lot slower, we expect less vehicles to be on the road. Those accidents, we had those more serious accidents. When I say serious, those accidents that involve injury. On Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we found that we had a lot of accidents that involved damages. So what it simply means is that when the road is clear, or when we expect the road to have less traffic, that we are still not driving with added care and caution. So just advising the general public as relates to these particular stocks that we have gathered during the last few days, that if you are traversing the street, be it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or Tuesday and Thursday, to do so with added care and caution. Remember, you are not only driving for yourself, you're driving for others, and we have a lot more road users, that is pedestrian traffic. Another thing of note, we find that there are not only commercial buildings on the streets of New Providence. There are other streets of New Providence we have commercial buildings as well as residential buildings. So what that means is there are persons who are in their homes. There are going to be kids that are going to be traversing at least the sidewalk area. So we just advising the general public, if you're in those areas that are frequented by residential and commercial buildings, so please pay attention for anybody who may be receiving some service, or any child or person, pedestrian that is, who is in the street. Please be careful of that.
Well, some great updates coming in there from Sergeant Johnson. And another good point this morning, over the lockdown period, some upgrades happening on the streets, like this traffic light behind me. We're seeing that it's a new traffic light, so it's functioning very clearly. Officer Johnson, before we sign off, again, any bits of advice for those emergency personnel, many of which are now new to this procedure, any things that they need to have with them as they're traversing?
So as it pertains to any essential workers, so this is a standard that we already communicate with the COVID enforcement units, and they are informed that they're on the streets. However, we're just asking as much as possible the new persons, that is store owners, if you're traversing the streets, and even if your light is in a form where it's blinking on amber or it has the red signal, so please pay attention to these intersections. If your intersection is blinking amber or yellow, that means that you are to traverse that area with caution. The persons who have red, when you go into the intersection, you need to stop and yield to the persons on that intersection that it has the amber light.
And that, of course, has been your first look at traffic coming in from the area of Rosetta Street and Wolf Road. For the morning edition, Lloyd Allen and Sergeant Johnson, ZNS Network News.
Thanks a lot, Lloyd. And still to come, a Bahamian entertainer doing his part in the fight against COVID-19. You're watching the Morning Edition.
I'm Dr. Pinder. During this global pandemic, we ask for you to be responsible. As we fight the COVID-19 virus together, we would like to encourage you to do the following. Wash your hands. Cover your mouth and nose with a flex elbow or tissue when coughing and sneezing. Practice social distancing by staying 6 feet apart. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth, and if you must go out, wear a mask. We stay here for you. Please stay home for us. To those of you on the front line, we salute you as we continue this fight together.
This message has been brought to you by the Ministry of Health in conjunction with GD Media Solutions and this television station.
As the country continues to grapple with a second wave of COVID-19 cases, many say the fear of uncertainty is still a major concern. But one local businessman is cashing in on that uncertainty by attempting to offer his own remedy, designing pillows and accessories. Here's Lloyd Allen.
Creativity, that's the order of the day for many businesses, hoping to keep afloat despite the challenging times from COVID-19 restrictions. Dexter Brown, owner of Ladishon Designer Pillows, says for the past 7 years, he has poured sweat equity into his growing company. But with many people experiencing anxiety and fear in recent months, his pillows have proven to have just enough fluff to soothe the weary. What was the reason behind starting your designer pillows?
Well, the reason behind me starting my pillows was an accident that I had. I fell down, and the doctor advised me to put a pillow underneath my back. Unfortunately, the local pillows that are being sold in the stores, they made the situation worse. So I decided to go and venture in making my own pillow.
And with many businesses, of course, experiencing a downturn since COVID-19, how would you say the pandemic has helped your business?
Well, since the pandemic came about, there were a lot of people that seems to have been going through the same thing I've been going through, very uncomfortable, you know. So they've been calling out to me and asking me about my pillows, and I told them, with the Ladishon pillows, you can really be comfortable during the pandemic.
The manufacturing process, according to Brown, happens from his home-based business and includes a simplified method of sewing, embroidering, stuffing, and packaging.
And they are made with a biodegradable foam, which can be washed, and they're also adjustable.
And obviously, during this time, many persons looking for employment. Are you able to employ any persons in your manufacturing process?
Well, at this time, I'm still growing as we speak. I'm still growing, but I'm looking forward to, as things begin to pick up, to really at least get about 2 more persons to work with me.
Starting with pillows, Brown says over time, his business has evolved into a complete bedding accessory center and continues to transform now to curbside delivery. Due to COVID-19 social distancing requirements, he says he continues to meet customer needs safely and promptly.
Some of them can come out, some cannot come out. The ones that can't come out, what I would do is I would go to them and deliver the pillows to them free of charge.
If there was one selling point for your pillows, what would that be?
The one selling point that would be that they are made by a local Bahamian.
Well, again, I'm looking forward to having my very own designer pillow from yourself. Thank you so much for speaking with us, and continue to stay safe.
Thank you very much for having me.
Lloyd Allen, ZNS Network News.
A Bahamian entertainer finding a way to get the message across about a very important thing we must do in the new normal. Charles Fisher caught up with the entertainer who hopes his song is a big hit.
By the way, your boss, your boss, your boss, your boss, yo. By the way, your boss.
Ken Johnson, better known as Christian Massif, is doing his part to make persons aware of the importance of wearing your mask.
The energy of the song is really, listen, put on your mask, boy. You know what I mean? Like, this thing to save people's life, man. If you ain't care about your own, at least, you know what I mean? Check for mine, you know what I mean? Or your brother on, you know? So just put on your mask, man, you know?
He hopes the message do get through after seeing people, despite the emergency order, still not wearing their mask.
That's really poised the attitude for it, other than just some laid backs like, I'm not a sick kid. Y'all ain't getting it, man. Put on your mask, my boy. The attitude, you know what I mean? I went to Exuma the other day, and it's like, I had to ask my cousin, I said, man, mask and Exuma. Because, like, literally, and I know that it gets a little bit of flax with it, but it is what it is. And a lot of places you ride, you know what I mean? It's just like the news only really go for some people. People don't really understand the real seriousness of trying to, you know what I mean, social distance and combat this thing. So that's really poised the attitude, man. Man, find your mask. Put on a mask, man. Yeah, we getting locked down again because bloody y'all don't wear y'all masks. Yeah, this is happening. This is where I'm just saying, if this is a part of the cure or a part of stopping it, man, listen, let's do it. So it really didn't take long. The song really only have like really two and a half verses. But it just, again, the attitude of it is really poised from really what's going on, man. You know what I mean? People don't seem to be taking the thing serious, man.
And with most of the country on a lockdown, downtime and free time is of the importance.
Something like this I wouldn't normally do. But, you know, you're a musician. This is what you do. So however the message needs get out, you get it out. You know what I mean? Don't come in my car without your mask. Don't come in my house without your mask. Don't come to my show without your mask. Without your mask. Now your mask could be dirty. Your mask could be clean. Your mask could be dripping with water from rain. Your mask could be stained up with... Listen, just put on your mask, man. All right? Wear your mask, man.
Yes, his song for young people to pull their pants up was a success. He hopes this one has the same effect.
They said that's their new style, and that's this. A lady stopped me one day. She said, sir, if nobody else... I couldn't get through to my son, but the minute my son heard the song, I don't have to say it to him anymore. That was succession for me, and I'm looking for the same thing with this man. Somebody would just say, someone, if it's only one more person, put your mask on, man. By way your mask, your mask, your mask, your mask, yo, by way your mask.
For the morning edition, I'm Charles Fisher.
Well, you've waited, and it's time now for an outdoor workout with Natasha Brown.
Natasha Brown has got you with the ultimate fitness. If you want to make progress, according to Jerry Seinfeld, you'll need to trade intensity for consistency. Thank you for joining Downtown for another awesome segment. Yes, we are in our second week of lockdown, and I've got the most amazing outdoor workout for you. Follow all of the exercises that you see that I'm doing. If the intensity is not too much for you, you can always raise it up. And if it's too much, you can always lower the reps. So we're looking at doing anywhere between 15 to 20 reps, or you want to definitely do 3 to 4 sets of everything. Let's get right to it. I'm Natasha Brown, taking you closer to becoming your ultimate you.
In the weather forecast today, a weak surface trough near the northern Bahamas will lend support to a few showers and thunderstorms. Meanwhile, a surface ridge of high pressure extending across the area will dominate the weather pattern. Boaters should be vigilant due to possible waterspout activity today. In all areas, weather mostly fair and warm tonight with a slight chance of a late night shower or two. Weather partly to mostly sunny and hot with a chance of isolated showers and thunderstorms mainly during the afternoon. And we want to remind you, though, we want to thank you for your continuing to make ZNS your #1 news and information network. Only the sun covers the Bahamas better than ZNS. And that's a wrap for us this morning. For the entire team, I'm LaDon Davis. Make it a great day and be safe.
He's so meek and lowly.